Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight, the Transportation Department is now on assessment mode when it comes to policies. We sit down with DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon in a little while and see his checklist of what's working and what's not.
And for the first time in 20 years, the Philippines is no longer the top supplier in the Chinese banana market. Former Agriculture Undersecretary Fermin Adriano weighs in on this and other agri issues when he joins us later in the program.
And Comelec clears the way for the Tulfos on May 12 as the poll body dismisses the case against the family over allegations of them being a political dynasty.
A traffic incident in Bohol prompts the Transportation Department to take another look at policies on apprehending traffic violators. Here's that now viral video shot in Panglao, Bohol.
Donay, komusyon. LTO versus
As per the investigation, LTO personnel were conducting anti-colorum operations when they chanced upon a drunk motorcycle driver identified as 57-year-old Erifredo Velasco. On him was a sickle, which the rider said was just a tool, him being a farmer. But the enforcers did not believe him and even threatened Velasco with it. The rider had to be taken to the hospital afterwards, sustaining injuries after being dragged on the ground.
Now, in the aftermath of the incident, the DOTR dismissed the LTO enforcers. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon also raised the issue of giving too much discretion to traffic enforcers, noting that no rule should be a, quote, source of abuse.
Kahit na po totoo yun, na nakainom siya, kahit na po totoo na may hawak siyang patalim, wala pong mag-justify sa nakita nating dahas na ipinakita ng ating mga law enforcers. Hindi po natin pwedeng gamitin ang poder, ang otoridad, para po pahirapan ng mga kapwa natin Pilipino. Dapat ang poder, ang otoridad, ginagamit po natin para po protektahan sila at pagginhawain ang kanilang pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay. Hindi po para gipitin sila.
All right, to discuss this and other issues, you just listen to yourself speak. We have with us tonight the Secretary of the Department of Transportation himself, Vince Dizon. Secretary, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah, you're hitting the ground running, but you have to put off fires as well, like this one.
Yes.
So, would you like to add to what you had just said earlier, how you would address this?
I think, first and foremost, I think our role as government workers is really encapsulated by what the President said sometime in January, where he says that, we are the people's servants and not their lords. No? Tayo yung mga nandyan para tumulong sa ating mga kababayan, hindi para maghari-harian at abusuhin sila. No? And I think the incident in Panglao, even if there was something illegal going on, even if the farmer Mang Bert was drunk, nakainom, o nakasakay sa isang unregistered motorcycle, o kolorum, whatever.
Sumobra.
I don't think any of that justifies the behavior that we have all witnessed. No? Especially from people who are given power and authority, like an LTO law enforcer. No? So, I think talagang hindi pa pwede yun. No? And more than just the acts of dismissing them, no, for clearly for cause. I think we really have to look at the regulations in place right now, because maybe they are really a source of abuse. No? Na kailangan
So may
natin-
review na
May review po.
magaganap.
We have
Okay.
assigned a new Assistant Secretary for Land, for Road, sorry. Assistant Secretary and former AFP Colonel Jojo Reyes. Siya din po yung pinadala namin nung Sabado para imbestigahan yung nangyari. And we have given him the authority to review the current policies and see if there are in fact some ways to improve it in order to avoid these situations in the future.
Pero si Mang Bert, nasa na po?
Si Mang Bert, alam ko po ay nakalabas na, no, sa aking impormasyon. No? Okay naman po ata siya, and I think ano po, no, this serves as a reminder really for everyone in government, especially those who have the power to enforce laws and to apprehend, no, na kailangan with the power, you know, you have to practice maximum tolerance, no? Kasi ikaw yung may poder.
Okay. So yung SAC LTO enforcers, walang trabaho. Sorry.
Yes, unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, it's not an easy decision to do, no, to make. No?
Okay.
And I feel bad for them, but I think government needs to act swiftly, especially when things are this clear.
Parang ang dami mong kailangan gawin, tapos nangyayari yung mga insidenteng to, yung sa busway. Pero may good news ka about the busway.
Opo.
Sige. Yun na muna, let's move to some good news.
Yeah, last week po kasi inikot po namin ng team yung mga busway just to see what things we can, you know, improve on, and just to improve even just a little bit the commuter experience, no. And napansin nga po namin unang-una may mga magagandang nandun, pero ang problema medyo hindi lahat gumagana, no. Ito po yung mga timer. Kasi napansin po namin na
So may timer na ngayon?
Opo, gumagana na po. I think ang report sa amin is 23 out of 30 something gumagana na.
If I
Napagana
may,
na po.
Meron naman talagang timer.
Yes.
Except yung walang sumusunod, yung iba hindi gumagana.
Yes.
Diba? Yun yung issue eh.
Yes. Kasi ulitin ko, no, ang purpose ng busways, kailangan tuloy-tuloy ang daloy ng mga bus. No?
It's the flow, right?
It's the flow. That's critical. And it has to be timed. Kasi ayaw natin yung
Masyadong matagal.
Natitenga dun sa...
Naantala yung
At
iba.
dahil nga doon, nakita namin, dahil rush hour kami pumunta, kapag may huminto doon ng 2 minutes, 3 minutes, siyempre
Magpapile up.
magpapile up na yung ano. No?
So ano pang ibang good news?
So, ang maganda din, yung mga enforcers natin, nandun na, no? Yung ating mga ibang saik, imbes na rumoronda lahat sila, nagstasyon na tayo ng 2 kada stasyon. Isa para sa northbound, isa para sa southbound, para konting reminder lang po sa ating mga
Yung saik
bus
na yun,
drivers.
napaka-fearless. But I know maraming exciting developments sa EDSA. And as Cez always says, we like talking about EDSA here. Kasi parang it's a microcosm talaga of the country's problems, di ba? So yung tinutukoy na, pinag-uusapan natin last admin, and you were also part of the Duterte cabinet, was this bus rapid transit, which I think is also in the works sa Cebu. Right? The whole concept is medyo similar siya sa carousel, pero naka-timer yung mga door. Para kahit sa gusto, sa ayaw ng driver, bigla siya magsasara after, let's say, 45 seconds or whatever time that is given to them. May ganun bang thing in the works for EDSA also?
Opo, I think that is the long-term plan for the busway carousel. No, na alam naman natin yung kung saan nanggaling to, nung pandemic, di ba, nagawa ito dahil nga wala naman masyadong sasakyan noon, and kailangan ng commuters, no, ng bagong lane para daanan, no, na smooth. So what we want to do here is between now and next year, we want to improve it using government funds. No, may pera naman po ang DOTR. So improve natin yung stations, gagawin nating modelo po yung ginawa ng SM sa North EDSA at yung tinatapos nila ngayon sa Mega Mall. Magkakaroon ng mga dedicated, bawat busway stop magkakaroon ng dedicated na bridgeway o dadaanan ng mga ano. Kasi meron pong mga, I think, 4 na stasyon na shared ang entrance sa MRT.
Yes. And nakakalito siya.
Nakakalito.
Where,
I mean,
if
ako
you're
po,
going to
nawala.
the MRT or to the busway.
Ako, nawala po ako. I didn't know where to go anymore, no, nung sa
Nakakalito.
Ortigas. And apart from nakakalito, masikip. Kasi syempre,
Especially during rush hour.
absolutely.
Grabe yung pila.
Naiimbudo kasi, kasabay
Uy, wow,
ng MRT.
sumasakay kayong dalawa?
Yes,
Dumadaan ako
we
every
try.
day. And to be honest, hindi ako sumasakay anymore. Dati sumasakay ako ng MRT, pero it's gotten so crowded na parang hindi na talaga siya convenient. And siguro, privilege na lang speaking, no, na pwede nga ganun. But, yun nga had I even wanted to take it, parang napaka-imposible. At sa agawan ko pa ng breathing space yung ibang tao na kailangan talaga sumakay. Minsan nagiging ganun yung mentality. But your first press con, no, kinuwento mo yung experience mo riding the busway at rush hour. And the other thing that you noticed was sobrang unfriendly talaga niya sa pedestrians.
Very, very unfriendly. Kaya, in fact, yung pong sa may Ortigas, no, bumaba kasi kami sa may Mega Mall, naglakad kami along that very narrow...
May hagdan doon sa labas ng ADB, kailangan mo umilag ng gano'n.
Kailangan mong mag-sideways. Kasi hindi ka magkakasya.
Ilag,
Kahit kayo po.
Parang walang planning ang pagkagawa.
Napakapayat
Kahit
na
sexy
hindi
na.
magkakasya
Talagang
kailangan sideways. Lalo na pagka, obviously,
nagsalubong.
nagkakasalubong doon. So, kailangan po talagang maremedyohan. No? Kasi problema sa EDSA, ang sikip na So, dikit-dikit na lahat. Nandun na yung mga poste, nandun na yung MRT, nandun yung busway, nandun na lahat. So, kailangan kang talagang maghanap ng paraan para,
In your opinion, madali ba yun? Low-hanging fruit ba yung Greenway, yung tinatawag na EDSA Greenway?
Yes.
Yung walkway?
I'm excited about that.
Super gusto yan.
Actually, yung Greenway, matagal na po yan I think,
plano.
Na plano. Matagal na po yan. And funded
Baka
po
we
yan
can
ng...
show the video of...
Yes.
There's a blueprint, right?
Opo, meron po ba tayo nun? Maganda po yung
Okay.
blueprint na Pero, ang plano na yan, matagal na. Ang nagplano niyan, ADB. No, so yung kanilang mga urban planners, matagal na nilang...
And that's what you see on the screen.
Yan,
Yeah,
no?
okay.
It's very similar to the ones you see in Ayala.
In Ortigas Center
Yeah.
Oo,
and
no?
Legazpi Village.
And sa ibang bansa, sa Bangkok, sa Malaysia,
Sa
usong-uso
Hong
yan.
Kong.
No? Hong Kong. And dapat hindi yan mahirap gawin. Kasi since naka-elevate siya, minimal yung right-of-way issue. Kasi poste, tapos meron kang...
So bakit
mga
hindi
5
magawa?
meters. Medyo na-delay po siya dahil sa proseso sa gobyerno. Alam ko, ito'y pinlano talagang i-implement nung mga nakarang administrasyon. Pero yun nga, siguro hindi nabibigyan ng priority. Kasi obviously, it's not really
Hindi siya big ticket, kung
as
baga.
big
Well,
ticket
you're
as a
the
subway.
wonder boy, so...
Hindi naman po.
No, much is expected of you, Sec Vince, we have to say. So, kailangan mo...
Nakakatakot po yan, ma'am. Kasi po, napakabigat po. Ang dami pong proyekto ng DOTR, no?
yeah.
So, kailangan po talaga ng maraming qualified
Pero
personnel
itong greenway na
implement all
to,
of this, no?
pwede nang isabay sa EDSA repair? Para
Actually, pwede po.
isahang hirap
Pwede
na lang.
po. In fact, yung busway rehab, isasabay na rin po namin sa EDSA rehab ng DPWH. Yun po yung meeting namin nung mga nakaraang araw.
So may
May
coordination.
interagency,
Yes.
may interagency.
Kailangan po talaga magka-coordination kasi hindi po biro ang pag-rehab ng EDSA. And, it's the metropolis's main artery.
Okay.
So, kailangan po talaga planuhin ng mabuti.
But Secretary, that's actually my next question. No? The EDSA Rehabilitation Project, it's going to be the biggest project on EDSA after many, many years. And we were speaking to DPWH Director Lori Malaluan, and she said it's going to start before the end of the month. And it will start with the EDSA busway.
Yes.
May plano na ba doon, Secretary? I mean, how much congestion are you anticipating in EDSA? Considering it will be moved one lane at magiging shared lane daw yun.
To add to that, before you answer, Vince, no? So pag sinara yung bus lane, di ba, yung magiging bus lane, yung lane
The next.
immediately beside it. So mababawasan ng dalawang lane, actually, yung normal
I mean,
users.
I won't sugarcoat. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. But the plans po ng DPWH ni Secretary Manny and ng kanyang team, napakaganda po. In fact, they are not just going to do the usual reblock and fix yung mga sira nating mga lanes. Ia-asphalto po yan. There will be asphalt overlay. So you can just imagine, I can't remember the last time I had a very comfortable ride on EDSA.
Right.
But when Sec Manny and his team complete this entire rehab, which I think they can complete in I think I would think within a year at
Aspalto
matatapos.
do? Hindi ba
Aspalto.
magiging sensitive yung aspalto sa init, ulan na?
Depende sa aspalto. Kita po natin sa Japan, ang ganda ng aspalto, no? So, depende yan. So, and I'm sure SecMani will be using high-quality asphalt na tatagal talaga. And
So is there a date na talaga?
wala pa pong akong,
yun na nga.
na nakuwang date.
Naiinip tayo
no?
sa date, ano?
Pero, I mean, we have to start somewhere, no? We have to start somewhere.
Ang sabi ni DPWH,
And,
NCR Director
matatapos din po yan. Tingin ko naman po, with SecMani's team, mabilis po yan matatapos.
Ang sabi niya kasi when we were asking her, dapat kasi March magsisimula di ba? Because you have just about a year until the target date. But we pointed out na, March na, and parang wala pang, cones, wala pang staging area, wala pang nakikita nga
I
construction.
think kulang sa communication sa publiko.
Opo, tama po yun.
Diba?
In fact, isa po yan sa mga binring up namin na kailangan, apart from the well-coordinated plan.
Alam nyo na magiging maganda yun, wala kaming alam.
Pero dapat nga po, kailangan ma-communicate siya ng mabuti. At kailangan ma-communicate din sa mga motorista natin.
So,
kung ano ang
plan your
mangyayari.
drives also, di ba?
Pa-plan mo yung
absolutely.
alternate route.
At yung alternate routes.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
On the part naman po of DOTR, ang naging kasunduan po namin, isasabayan namin. No? So, yung pong rehab ng mga stasyon, yung rehab ng mga barrier, yung rehab nung fencing, no? We're working now with MMDA para sabay-sabay na. No?
Okay.
Gagawin na rin lang, sabay-sabay na natin para
Sige,
hopefully
hintayin na lang
sabay-sabay
natin
matapos.
ang announcement.
May I move on
Ang
to
kulit
another
nyo
topic? Okay. Pause muna tayo sa EDSA, no? Punta
Okay.
tayo dun sa Flagship Project Management Office na iyong tinayo. This was your answer to President Marcos's call na pabilisin itong mga flagship infra. Ito yung mga tinatawag nating big ticket. Unlike the
Opo.
Greenway, maraming coordination, may funding na kailangan ayusin, etc., etc., etc. Sobrang daming paperwork. Ngayon, sad to say, but the reality is we haven't really heard any updates from these projects. To make it worse, no, in the budget for this year, of course, pinag-usapan rin natin na tinanggal yung funding component
roughly about
natin.
100 billion.
Right.
Yes, from DOTR.
Yeah, and it's kind of embarrassing because the other people funding it are multinationals and they've already agreed, right? How can this new office and what is your plan for this office? No, paano natin siya mapapabilis?
First of all, on the funding, kahit naman po nabawasan ang DOTR ng roughly about 100 billion, meron naman pong pondo. Kasi po, alam niyo naman po, sa budget ng gobyerno, yung pong mga hindi nagagamit nung nakaraang ilang taon, nandyan pa. So, pwede po natin gamitin yung pondong yon para punuan yung nawala ngayong 2025. No? And nakikita naman po namin, based sa mga projections ng gastusin, pagka finast-track po natin itong mga proyektong to, mukhang kaya naman po natin itawid ng 2025 hanggang 2026.
End of the term of
Within 3 years.
President Marcos.
Well, yung within 3 years po, meron po tayong mga matatapos, meron pong mga hindi matatapos, merong mga
Sige.
partial na matatapos,
Specifics.
etc.
Secretary Subway.
Okay, subway. Ang subway po ay
Ratatatang questions.
ngayon ay nasa mga a little less than 20% done, no? At alam naman po natin, ito talaga ang pinakamahirap sa lahat nitong mga flagship projects na ginagawa natin, no? Hindi ko na kailangan ipaliwanag kung bakit, no? Alam naman natin na napakahirap niyan. So, ang nakikita po namin is, tingin po namin, at the very least, 1-2 stasyon, underground, matatapos po natin. No?
Within the term.
Within the term of the President.
Okay.
No? Tingin po natin yon. No?
Anong
nagsisimula
stasyon
po
yan?
tayo sa Valenzuela, papunta po sa Quirino, and then, I think the next one is, if I'm not mistaken, is Mindanao. No?
So, Valenzuela to Quirino, magagawa.
Tingin ko po kaya. Tingin ko po kaya yun. No? So,
Ilang minuto lang yun, tapos lalabas ka na.
pero at least po, makikita
least
natin.
meron.
No?
Okay,
Kasi
okay.
mahaba
Sige,
po ito.
sige.
No? In fact, ang minamadali din po namin ngayon, aparte dun sa ongoing construction na from Valenzuela, yung simula sa depot and onwards, no? We also need to award other packages that are currently still in the procurement stage, meaning nagpapabidding pa po
segments,
tayo,
oo.
no? Yung 105, 107, 108, etc. No?
So in fact, ito nga Metro Manila Subway Project, part siya ng flagship projects na kailangan mong pagtuunan ng pansin.
Opo.
Nandun siya sa VIP
Nandun po siya
list.
sa listahan.
Oo. Kasama doon, no, correct me if I'm wrong, North-South Commuter Railway,
Opo.
the EDSA Busway, na pag-usapan na natin, the Greenway, the Cebu BRT,
Yes.
and the Davao Public Transport
And the
Modernization
Clark
Project.
to Valenzuela.
Valenzuela to Clark, yes.
Ay, yeah.
Yes, and Clark, yes. So, yun po, napaka-importante po niyan, no? Because of, obviously, we wanna spread development northward and even south kasi hindi lang po yan Valenzuela to Clark. Actually, Valenzuela, bababa ho yan hanggang Calamba, Laguna po yan. No? And hopefully, ma-extend pa yan hanggang Bicol. No? So, and apart from spreading development, we also wanna finally find a way to decongest Metro Manila because that's really the solution. Mass transit po ang magiging solusyon. Hindi pa pwedeng i-expect nating tumira ang mga nagtatrabaho sa Metro Manila sa labas ng Metro Manila, north sa Bulacan, sa Pampanga, or sa south sa Laguna.
You go home to Clark.
Ako po.
Imagine kung magte-trend ka na lang.
Alam niya yung issue.
Hinihintay ko po talaga yan, no, yung
O di
trend na
siguro mangyayari within your term, within the president's term?
Right now po, I'm cautiously optimistic na by 2028, aabot po tayo, kung hindi man Clark, aabot po tayo hanggang Pampanga. I'm cautiously optimistic about that.
Paano naman yung Cebu BRT? I thought, initially when the government was pitching the project, na parang this will be kind of another low-hanging fruit, medyo madali siya ma-accomplish, but many years later, di pa rin siya tapos. Ano yung challenges that they're running into? Para na rin siguro we can kind of
And
see.
Cebu is mas matraffic sa Manila, di ba? Sa totoo lang.
Yes, sa totoo lang. And now Davao din ang traffic
Opo.
na.
Kaya po, ang kagaya pong sinabi ko nga nung bago po ako mag-assume, o nung kaka-assume ko lang, is, ang solusyon sa traffic is really
Mass transport.
high-capacity mass transit. No? Yung pangmaramihan, no? Yung mga bus na mahahaba, bus na malalaki, yung mga tren na mahahaba. No? Yan po talaga ang ultimate solution. Habang wala tayo niyan, sad to say, we have to accept reality, we're going to have to deal with this every day. No? So, if we are able to do Cebu BRT, and by the way po, meron pong maganda din na ginagawa ang Asian Development Bank and our other partners na Cebu Subway System. No? Pinag-aaralan na po yan ngayon. No? We are in talks with major funders to already begin feasibility studies for a Cebu Subway system. No? Pero in the meantime, I think the BRT in Cebu will really do wonders. We've seen it I know marami pong alinlangan, no, na nagsasabi na magtatanggal tayo ng lane para sa kotse at gagawin natin ng dedicated sa bus. Minsan counterintuitive yun, no, kasi baka it will lead to more traffic. But what I think should comfort us is kapag ginawa ang BRT sa isang syudad na heavily populated, it works. It has worked in Latin America. It has worked in Indonesia, in Jakarta.
Sobrang traffic doon.
Napaka-traffic. It
Sobrang
has the same density as Metro Manila. Pero nung naglagay po sila ng BRT, guminhawa sila doon.
Okay.
No? So, tingin ko po, 10 years na kasing delayed itong Cebu
Imagine,
BRT. No?
10 years, tapos kailangan mong gawin in 3 years. And then, okay, final question daw.
Before the final question, really quickly, I just remembered an important question. Former Senator Ping Lacson proposed an idea to have the EDSA busway counterflow daw. Quickly,
Okay.
Secretary,
Ang problema mga busin,
Correct.
kasi nasa kanan Ang problema, bumababa sa kaliwa. So umiikot yung mga... Ngayon, that's a very intuitive solution, Senator Ping. No? And I admire Senator Ping, as always, for giving bold solutions. Ang pinakamalaki nating issue sa pag-counterflow, yung U-turn slot sa EDSA. Kasi dyan,
so it's not feasible.
well, pag-aaralan natin. Pero, mag-aampo yan. No? So, yun po ang problema.
So, last question, pero wala na daw time because you have another program to go to. So, can you promise to come back na lang?
Opo. Pag meron pong bagong report,
Baka walang magawa si Sec Vince sa kakaguess ng mga
in
programa.
fact, yung sinabi po ni Shawn, no, na reports, in fact, nung initial press con po namin, sinabi po namin yon that once we get the projects running and running more, you know, in a steady
Okay.
pace na,
Okay.
we will give regular reports
Yeah.
to the public.
Because we want to discuss air transport, airport.
Yes,
It's so
airports.
important.
Nabitin
but
tayo dun sa
super-
air.
Yun
Tsaka may
na
ports
nga,
pa.
may
Ports,
ports
yeah.
pa. O, sige.
Air, land, water.
So, part 2.
Part 2
Part
po,
two.
promise.
We brought this chair specially for you.
Oo nga po, yun, no?
From Kenneth Cobonbue.
Napaka-social po nung ating
So mahirap yung
upuan.
trabaho ni Sec. Kailangan naman, no?
Oo,
Pagkakapagpahinga siya.
magandang Silya. So,
Napakaganda.
thank you very much, Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon. We wish you the best.
Thank you po.
We hope you will accomplish everything that you set out
salamat
to.
po. And makakaasa po kayo, we will report
Talaga.
regularly.
Ayan. Thank you.
Whether maganda o hindi masyado maganda, i-report po natin.
All right, we will take it for tonight. Pero again, no, we'll check back in with you, Sec. In other news muna tayo, no, Communications Secretary Jay Ruiz wants to set the record straight over his involvement with Digital 8. That is the media company who reportedly bagged contracts with the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO, worth hundreds of millions of pesos. In a palace briefing earlier today, Ruiz said that he was never a stockholder of the firm, but a mere representative as sales and marketing head. He said he has already resigned in January. Ruiz admitted to owning other businesses that include restaurants and a political management firm, which he claims he is in the process of divesting from. The PCO secretary noted the effect of this controversy on his family and their safety, and even contemplated suing.
I was contemplating on siyempre yung una mong reaction, di ba? File a legal action against these purveyors of fake news. Pero nung naitulog ko, naisip ko, baka naman lalo lang tayong madistract. Madistract tayo sa focus na ano ang kinakailangan gawin bilang Presidential Communications Office.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, another blow to Philippine agriculture, losing to Vietnam as a top supplier of bananas to China. We talk about that and other issues hounding the sector with former DA Undersecretary Fermin Adriano when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're watching the big story here on One News. The Philippines is no longer China's top banana supplier. Vietnam has grabbed the top spot for the first time in 2 decades. Throughout the years, Vietnam has been eroding the Philippines' share in China's banana market, which imports about 1.8 million metric tons of the fruit annually. International Trade Center data showed that last year, China imported a record high of 166,000 metric tons of bananas from Vietnam, while its purchase from the Philippines only stood at 463 and 306,000 metric tons. The Filipino Banana Growers and Exporters Association said the rising geopolitical tensions in the West Philippine Sea have impacted banana exports, with China further cutting back on its purchases. Aside from losing to Vietnam in the Chinese market, the Philippines is also losing a substantial share in the South Korean market. This was also confirmed by industry players recently citing mounting competition from Latin America and Asian banana growers.
Joining us tonight to talk about this development, among other agri-related issues, we have former Agriculture Undersecretary Fermin Adriano. Undersecretary, good evening and welcome to the big story. Can you hear us okay? Hello, Yusek, naka-mute po yata kayo.
Yeah.
Ayun.
Good evening also to you ladies.
Good evening.
And good evening also to your audience.
All right, I think you heard our report about, well, it wasn't our report, it was the report of PBJA, sounding the alarm na parang humihina ang ating banana exports. What would be your reaction to this? Was this something you saw coming or is it a surprise?
Yeah, it was expected as early as about 2017 or 2018. We knew that it's just a matter of time before the so-called, in the former Indochina countries will overtake us in banana production, because during that time there was a Transrail project that was being constructed by China, coming from China, passing through Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, going through Thailand and ending in Vietnam. That means that any agricultural products transported through those trains will cost cheaper than if you're going to ship it. The other factor was we were hit hard by the so-called Panama disease among our manchitap or Fusarium wilt. It's a kind of virus that kills the banana plant, and therefore a lot of our banana plantations, particularly the small ones, the small banana growers, were hit hard by this Fusarium wilt or Panama disease. The small ones were susceptible to this because they could not afford the cost of the biosafety or biosecurity measures. So yung two factors na yun, alam na natin noon pa na mangyayari yan.
Pero ito yung next question doon, no, Yusek. Was there something that we could have done? Because like you said, you could see this since 2017. That was 8 years ago. Was there something we could have done to stymie this? The disease notwithstanding. Because kukunti na nga lang yung agri-exports natin. I know bananas hold a special place in this country's heart as one of its top fruit exports na high value.
Yeah. There are only 3 agricultural commodities which reach about more than $200 million of exports. And that's basically coconut oil, second banana, and pineapple. Unlike other countries like Vietnam, they have more than 10, or Thailand about 15 or something like that. That could have been prevented if we undertake measures already on research and investment in really fighting or preventing the outbreak of this Panama disease or Fusarium wilt. There should have been heavy investment already done there. The second factor is really the cost of the biosafety. Unfortunately, because of the agrarian reform program, we could not easily consolidate the farms into consolidated areas, and that's the reason why kanya-kanya sila in terms of, just like what happened to our swine industry, because their backyard they could not afford biosafety measures. They do not adopt biosafety measures, so it did not prevent the outbreak of Fusarium wilt, and or in the case of the swine, the ASF. So may problema talaga tayo dun sa prolonged implementation ng agrarian reform, because it resulted, although it achieved the issue of equity or social equity, it resulted in farm sizes which do not enjoy economies of scale. And therefore, there's difficulty in applying modern farm technologies. How could you apply it in 1 hectare or 2 hectares of banana farms? You have to have hundreds and thousands of hectares to be able to apply the modern technology like drone technology, satellite, or whatever. So ganun talaga eh.
So ano pong pwedeng, what can be done? Kung sabi niyong walang economies of scale, anong solution po doon?
The government should really encourage, and we've been trying to say that we need farm clustering, encourage farm clustering. It does not necessarily mean consolidation of land ownership. It is just consolidation for purposes of production.
Like a cooperative?
Instead of each farmer doing his own thing, consolidate them, organize them, so that you can tell them, this is the way we're going to schedule production, you will plant now, etc. And then this is the way we're going to provide the necessary support services. Unlike now,
but who takes the lead?
Di ba parang kooperatiba na yan?
It's a real problem.
Oo, Yusek, di ba? That's why we have cooperatives, right? But yun nga who takes the lead? And the other issue is, kung meron nga nagtitake ng lead, minsan naman sasabihin nila, kumbaga abusive, yung person taking the lead, ginagamit lang sila, nadedehado yung mga farmers natin. I mean, was agrarian reform like a good intention, but the execution was not as great as we thought it would be?
It's true. Unfortunately, if you look at the history of cooperative in the country, sad to say, it's a history of failure since the time of Pacomas in the 1950s. The problem is that it's not just enough to say, okay, farmers will have cooperatives, or what they did in the past, that cooperatives You form cooperatives, you force the organization of cooperatives because on the basis of that, you will get access to credit or support services. That's not the way to form cooperatives. That means it will require a lot of community organization,
Yeah, correct.
particularly at the local level. That strategy of dangling an incentive, okay, mag-cooperative kayo so that you can access credit, does not work. It requires a lot of community organizing, continued training of the farmers,
Yeah.
continued engagement with them, extension of new knowledge. And the thing is that, unfortunately, we don't have extension workers at the national level. They are large now because of devolution at the local government. That means that that kind of extension work should have been actively done by LGUs. Nagkaroon ng it was broken. That command structure was broken because of the devolution. Unfortunately, a lot of LGUs do not prioritize, organizing of the farmers or providing extension or trading capability for our farmers. Unlike what we're seeing in Vietnam or in China before, or right now, sorry.
Okay, well, Yusek, one of the reasons why we invited you here tonight is to react to some of the statements that Agriculture Secretary Kiko Laurel said on our program last night. We're going to play some of those sound bites and hopefully we can get your reaction. So first, sinabi po niya nung tinanong namin regarding the inflation of prices on why we have a food security emergency right now in the country, kung meron ba talagang mga rice cartel at ito po yung sinabi po niya.
Well, sa rice, actually, wala akong nakitang cartel, ever since I started. There clearly is profiteering, but it is hindi naman cartel-based na meron isang humahawak na malaking negosyante or trader or importer na gano'n. It's more of, it's the market Kasi tumaas na yung presyo ng bigas sa market dahil sa world, tumaas ang world prices, naka 35% tariff pa.
Yusek, your reaction, please.
Yeah. Well, in economics, we define cartel as independent market players colluding and agreeing not to compete with each others so that they can peg the price. Yun yung definition ng cartel. Do we have a cartel? That can easily be proven dali-dali prove niya kung wala Kasi otherwise, we will just be anecdotal or something. This sinabi niya to, sinabi niya. Can easily be proven or disproven. This is the way to do it. Bago ko mag-import ng particular commodity like rice, the Bureau of Plant Industry issues what we call sanitary and phytosanitary certificates. Yan, parang public health safety standards. And that certificate, the name of the trader, the name of the volume or the quantity that he or she or that company will be importing, nakalagay dyan yan. So, kilala mo kung sino, ilang volume. And then, on the side of the BOC, sa arrival side naman, they have a document saying, ito yung arrivals, ito yung nag-import, ganito karaming in-import, at saan dumating port, at gaano katagal. So, if you just compare how much the DA issue in terms of SPS, and the actual arrival, by the way, not all of the SPS being used. Historically, it's only 35%. Doon mo makikita kung sino yung malalaking kumpanya o mga kumpanya na nag-import. The problem is that that kind of data that should have been digitalized, and unfortunately, is not being shared to the public. Dapat kita nila yan. Totoo ito talaga. Ito yung nag-import. And some of
the
them
answer is
actually
yes.
use dummies in the importation.
So meron nga ba?
So meron.
Meron ba cartel?
Dali solve the problema. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead please, sorry.
Okay, so definitely may cartel. Of course, I'm sure may smuggler na rin kasama dyan, kasi we're piddling about definitions. Pero another issue, and I think, di lang naman ako yung nagsasabi nito, this is time immemorial. Middlemen. Diba? Bumabagsak yung presyo sa pandaigdigang merkado ng bigas. Pero hindi natin nararamdaman. Ang sabi ni Secretary Laurel sa amin kagabi, madaling pataasin yung presyo, mahirap daw ipababa. Ano yung thoughts nyo dito, Yusek, no? Ano ba yung, bakit ba tong reliance on middlemen? We can't get rid of it. Why are we always so dependent on them?
Pwede po ba tanggalin rin ang mga middlemen?
Dalawang klase ng middleman ang we're talking about it. Yung tinatawag nating wholesaler.
Okay.
Yan yung mga big importers or traders. At din yung retailers, yung nakikita mo sa sari-sari store, mga groceries. Ang dali-dali naman solve ang problema. You look at the data ng Food and Agriculture Organization, makikita mo na din yung trends of different varieties, Vietnam, Pakistan, India, na may tinatawag silang 5% broken, basmati rice, 5% broken, etc. etc. Kitang-kita mo na about 6 months ago or so, the price was for 5% broken. Ito yung tinatawag nating well-milled rice. The price was more than 550 per metric ton and above. Ngayon, naglalaro na lang po yan sa 400. That means natanggal ng $150 per metric ton. So kitang-kita mo naman din dapat pakita mo lang yung dataset. That means, kung kinuha na mababa na ngayon yan, dapat bumagsak na yung presyo mo. And then, you add about 12 pesos for logistics, profit of the wholesaler, profit of the retailer. And you will arrive at the conclusion na dapat yung well-milled rice should only about be 45 pesos by now, using the data international price reference. And bakit hindi bumababa? Why is that lower price not transmitted? Then you will ask the question. Siguro may kumukontrol at the wholesale level. Di ba? Kasi pag instruction nila, maglalagay sila ng maximum retail suggested retail price. Doon sa retailer side yun, kinontrol nila. Pero wala silang maximum suggested retail price
sa
wholesaler level.
So
diba?
you're saying...
Yun ang source di ba?
So you're saying po...
Kinontrol mo sa outlet pero sa source hindi.
Okay. So ang sinasabi nyo sa makatuwid, itong maximum suggested retail price ay benefits the traders and not the consumer.
The big traders.
The big traders, the wholesalers, as you put it.
But it's let's point out na lang din to Yusek na yun nga din yung call calculation ni Secretary Kiko Tiu Laurel, 45 pesos. Kasi ang tinanong namin sa kanya, Yusek, just to loop you in, sabi niya, nung ginawa yung promise, nung sinabi ni PBBM yung promise na 20 pesos rice nung kampanya, ang presyo daw ng fertilizer ay nasa 700. Ngayon daw, 1.4 na. So tinanong ko sa kanya, ano ba tingin mo yung presyo? Now that 1.4 na nga yung fertilizer is 45. So is that really, kumbaga, in your opinion, the fair price that rice should be going for now, should be selling for now at retail, nasa 45 pesos per kilo, well-milled?
Kasi ang teorya nila, ang retail ang nagkakaroon ng pollution. Pero mahirap patunayan na retail kasi there are about 50,000 retailers all over the Philippines. How could you collude 50,000 kayo? It is much easier to collude at the wholesaler kasi iilan lang sila. It defies economic logic if you're going to say that. Ngayon, doon sa price ng fertilizer, nung panahon namin, it was hovering around 1,000 to 1,003. Pero yung well-milled rice, 45. So, we're talking about the same, but it actually went during the COVID years to almost 2,000.
Bakit? Wala, parang,
Hello?
Okay,
Parang
May gustong sumali sa ating conversation.
So, in other words, kayang makuha yung 45 pesos na price sa well-milled. Ito yung ini-import natin. Pero imposible talaga makuha yung 20 pesos na sapagkat yung palay pa lang, pag binili mo, ang NFA price 23 na. Kasi times 2 yan Convert palay to rice, magiging 2 kilos sa palay, 1 rice. That means 23 pesos times 2, 46 kagad. So how can you hit 20 pesos?
Okay, so tama naman nga sinabi.
Imposible. Pwede mong gawin yun, pero babangkaratuhin mo ang gobyerno kasi maglalagay ka ng maraming subsidies.
So yun nga, so tama nga yung sinabi ni Secretary Kiko about that, Pero with regard to the cartel and whether or not merong cartel, I guess depende na lang.
So, finally, before we let you go, Dr. Adriano, ano ang dahilan bakit in denial itong gobyerno sa katotohanan?
Hindi. Ito na kan. Ano ba yan?
Si Miss Gretchen ata Nasa...
Yes, correct. Nakikita yan ni Yusek sa Zoom Siya po yung next kasi.
Sige. Kung maikli lang po, maikli lang. The fact that they're in denial about this, can we assume they're protecting or they refuse to see the reality and so there will be no solution? Ano po ba ang maaari nating maging conclusion Dr. Adriano, sa maikling salita po.
Unang-
Dahil andyan na si
Ma'am
Gretchen
Ces,
nag-aantay.
may solution po madali
Oh.
Yung nga, sinabi ko una, ilagay lang yung data. Secondly, the government can talk to big supermarket na kompleto. I will not name names naman, pero alam naman yun, yung mga big malls and something like that. They have the logistics, they have the warehouses.
They
Di
can
sabihin
do-
nila, okay, parang tulong nyo sa buyer, can you buy it at less than $400 now? And then
Okay.
you flood the market? Di ba?
Right.
Kaya nilang gawin as part of the
we
so-called
get rid
corporate
of the middleman.
social responsibility. Ha?
We get
Corporate
rid of the
social
middleman.
responsibility. Bakit hindi nila ginagawa yun?
Ayun nga, yun ang talagang tanong
Di
nito.
ba?
Okay. So sige, Yusek, sa uulitin, dito na kayo sa show namin mismo.
Sa studio na
Oo,
po,
sa
ma'am.
studio para
Para maganda ang
tayo.
kwentuhan. Okay,
I'm
wala na po tayong
thank
oras.
you po. Thank you din po sa pagkakataon.
Unfortunately, like you said,
Maraming
andyan na po,
salamat.
andyan na
And
po
I
si
have to prepare
Gretchen.
to roam.
That's right. Former Agriculture Undersecretary Fermin Adriano, maraming salamat po sa oras ninyo ngayong gabi and we hope to talk to you again very soon.
The Comelec First Division dismissed the disqualification case against the Tulfo family on the grounds that the petition is, quote, insufficient in form. Recall that petitioner Virgilio Garcia filed the disqualification case against the Tulfos over allegations they are a political dynasty. Comelec Chairman George Erwin Garcia said the case was dismissed due to a technicality. The complainant failed to attach the necessary documents to the disqualification petition. He also said that the dismissal is not permanent, as the petitioner could file a motion for reconsideration.
Paano mo sasabihin na kandidato yung isang kandidato kung di naman pala in-attach ang certificate of candidacy? The purpose of technicalities is not in order to imperil yung justice, but in order to ensure na may fairness, due process, and at the same time, orderliness in the courts. Kasi nga po, we cannot always assume and presume. Hindi namin gusto magpaka-stricto, pero pagka po kasi basic yung requirement, ay hindi po namin pwedeng i-set aside yung mga basic requirements ng rules natin.
One of the respondents, senatorial candidate Erwin Tulfo, released a statement expressing gratitude for the dismissal. He said, this ruling affirms the Comelec's integrity and commitment to fairness and impartiality. The other respondents include senatorial candidate and TV host Ben Tulfo, Turismo Party List First Nominee Wanda Tulfo Teo, and re-electionist ACT-CIS Representative Jocelyn Pua Tulfo, and Quezon City 2nd District Representative Ralph Wendell Tulfo.
All right, in other news, re-electionist Senator Bato Dela Rosa responds to criticism that he and the rest of the PDP Laban candidates are pro-China in the context of the West Philippine Sea. In an interview with our sister program Storycon, Dela Rosa stressed that he won't stand for Beijing's aggressions in the WPS. He also defended Rodrigo Duterte over perceptions that the former president favored China to the detriment of the Philippines' fight for its sovereign waters. He did admit, though, that there are instances when he and Duterte had different stands on issues. But Dela Rosa did not say if it's over the territorial dispute.
Hindi naman ibig sabihin na kung naging stand ni Pangulong Duterte. First, we have to talk about President Duterte. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na kung ang stand niya, yung kanyang foreign policy is to become friend to everyone but enemy to no one, pro-China na siya. Kaya siya nagkaroon ng stand na gano'n dahil hindi siya pro-America, hindi siya pro-China, but pro-Filipino siya. So gano'n rin ang stand ko. I am a pro-Filipino. Lahat ng ginagawang pambubuli ng Chinese dyan is galit na galit tayo.
You did say that you will live and die with your president.
No.
You will live and die with your president. That would be President Duterte, of
Yes.
course. So I'm trying to reconcile what you're saying today and what you said before. Are you changing your mind now about the West Philippine Sea issue?
Living and dying is different from having different opinion. Di ba? I will live and die with him. Kung mayroong gagawang masama sa kanya, magpapakamatay ako. Pero pag magkaiba nga ng opinion yung magkaiba nga ng stand yung magkapatid, kami pa na hindi mo kami magkapatid.
Time now to pause for another quick break. Right after that, though, A faith-based group makes an ambitious push to speed up Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial by 1 million signatures a month. Now that's clamor. We'll have the details on that next. Keep it here. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around with us here on The Big Story.
Faith-based group Contra Abo launched their People's Impeachment campaign today. Their aim? To gather 1 million signatures monthly to push the Senate to act on Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment. The group, composed of priests, nuns, pastors, and lay people, calls for accountability over Duterte's alleged misuse of public funds. They also seek to prevent another Duterte from rising to power.
All right, let's move on over to Rome, because after 2 episodes of acute respiratory insufficiency, the Vatican says that Pope Francis was finally able to sleep well through the night.
However, his condition remains complex, and there is still the danger of further respiratory crises due to his double pneumonia.
Let's get more details on the ground from Morning Matters host Gretchen Ho, who is joining us again live from Rome. Just a quick check. Oh, she's in the Vatican now. She's not outside Gemelli for a change. Okay, Gretch, what can you tell us? What does having slept well through the night mean? Is there more to that message that we can take, or is it just that?
Shawn, Pauline, it says we are coming to you live. Yes, that's right, from the St. Peter's Basilica here in Rome, the home of the Pope, the seat of the papacy. Tens and thousands continue to pour in as Lenten season makes its knock on the door. Unfortunately, the Pope is not here to answer that door. And we do know that he is currently at the Gemelli Hospital. Things took a downturn last night as he encountered 2 acute respiratory failures after days of being stable and being removed from a mechanical ventilator. He was put back on that mechanical ventilator. A respiratory failure means the inability of the lungs to do its part, meaning it failed to bring oxygen into the blood. And the reason seems to be the accumulation of bronchial mucus and bronchospasm. To remove the phlegm, they had to do a bronchoscopy, meaning insert a thin lighted tube into his airways, the throat, the windpipe, and down to his airways. And they had to do that twice. So just imagine the uncomfortability of that. And also the complexity of the whole situation. He is dealing with double pneumonia on both of his lungs, and he's also dealing with bronchitis, with bronchospasm. So merong mga plemang nabubuo, and then you have the 2 attacks there as a result of fighting that bacteria. Medyo nahihirapan na matulog si Pope Francis. Actually, sinabi dun sa bulletin that he slept through the night and rested. Pero kung mapapansin mo, Shawn, dun sa tanong mo, nung mga nakaraang araw, wala naman nakalagay na, actually may nakalagay pala na peacefully and well. So he slept peacefully through the night. Usually that adjective is there, but this time around, it is not present. So it seems to be that things are not going so well. And also there is that line, further respiratory crises remain possible. I think it's the first time that we've seen that in the medical bulletin.
Well, Gretchen, the Lenten season already begins tomorrow. In fact, it is Ash Wednesday already. So, and will the Pope be able to participate in any of the Lenten observations, Gretchen? If not, what are the plans? Would you know already from there in Rome?
Actually, Pauline, yun nga, no? Yun yung masamang balita dahil hindi pa rin makakapagmisa si Pope Francis bukas sa Ash Wednesday. He usually says Mass, leads that. At ang kwento sa atin, doon nga sa isang simbahan, hindi dito sa St. Peter's Basilica, yung misa na yun, doon sa isang simbahan ng Franciscans, and then they will travel to the chapel of the Dominicans naman. So ganun daw yung pag-celebrate ng Ash Wednesday dito. But another cardinal will take over that role. That's Cardinal De Donatis, who will preside over that Mass. And speaking of initiatives for the Pope, nandito kami kagabi actually sa St. Peter's Square, sa harapan lamang ng Basilica. You see these chairs. These chairs are for those who want to say prayer for the Pope. Every 9 p.m. dun sa board na yun nakalagay, tonight at 9 p.m. a rosary will be held for Pope Francis. So last night we were here and the cardinals were there. Nandoon sa taas ng stairs. Nandoon kagabi si Cardinal Tagle at nandun din si Cardinal Pietro Parolin, said to be the Secretary of State and the second highest Vatican official. Cardinal Tagle is, of course, the third highest official. Both of them there with the other cardinals, with those present and retired. Just imagine how much concern and worry and urgency that moment has, because all of them were there praying the rosary together with us Catholic faithful.
Well, all the Catholic faithful here, no, especially Ash Wednesday na bukas, at least dito sa Pilipinas, Gretch, will all be praying alongside all the Catholic faithful around the world. Unfortunately, wala na tayong oras ulit. Thank you so much, Gretchen Ho, reporting to us live from St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. Like I said, wala na oras, so that's it for the show tonight.
Oo nga, bilis ng oras.
Bilis ng oras. Tsaka Ash Wednesday na bukas, ang bilis ng panahon.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for watching. Good night.